Our first guest tonight is former Lazard managing director and author of the book Why America Matters, Michael Wilkerson. And Michael, thank you for joining us. You wrote a piece, The Falling Meteorite FTX Scorches Crypto Landscape. I was speaking with Hillary Kramer on Monday night this week, and she was detailing some of the ramifications of what happened with FTX. And for people that are joining us that may not be fully up to speed, before we talk about what it means, describe what exactly happened.
Well, so first of all, FTX is a crypto exchange. Think about the other exchanges that we have for stocks or bonds or other things. Crypto exchanges are marketplaces where you can go and deposit tokens, deposit currency, buy, sell, trade, etc. FTX did something that was completely fraudulent, which is they took customer funds, they moved them to a sister company under the same ownership of Sam Bankman-Fried, FBF, and used those funds to establish leveraged trading positions. So you don't need to know anything about crypto to understand that what happened here is a good old-fashioned bank run, thanks to some good journalistic investigation. And by the way, one of the nice things about crypto is every transaction is visible on the blockchain. You can go back, they're immutable. You can look and see exactly what happened, what transaction went from where to where. Someone took a look at this and realized that there's something didn't smell quite right. And as soon as those depositors at FTX got wind of it, they did what bank customers from time immemorial have done. They went to the bank and they got their money out. And the same thing happened on FTX exchange. They lost within 24 hours several billions of dollars. Those positions that were levered were getting margin called. They were using their own currency, their own token, in order to collateralize some of those loans. So completely fraudulent, incredibly large estimate size. Unfortunately, Kevin, this is going to go down in the history books as something like a Bernie Madoff size failure, Enron, WorldCom. We don't know exactly yet how much losses there may be. We understand at one point a couple of days ago, they believed there were $10 billion of depositor funds unaccounted for. Some of that has been located. In bankruptcy filings, the top 50 creditors are owed over $3 billion. So this isn't over. It's going to go on for a while. I'm also have seen recently some reports that funds are continue to flow. Tokens are being taken out of the system, apparently by people who may have some of the insiders' private keys and able to access these tokens even after the fact and when the doors are supposedly shut. So it's been quite a mess.
So obviously the people that were in this exchange are the ones that are the victims. And I'm reading from your piece, SBF alone may have lost 17 billion in all of this. And be literally worth zero now. Talk to me about the larger crypto markets. Was there any spillover or emotional reaction on any of the other areas where crypto is traded?
Absolutely. So since this news broke last week, we've seen all of the main tokens down significantly. Bitcoin down over 20%, Ethereum down by 25%. From what was already pretty depressed levels. The market has reacted very negatively across the board. Some of this was because of the liquidity squeeze that was being caused. People were forced to sell their coins in order to make margin calls and other things. But it is also impacting other exchanges. Just 2 days ago, Gemini saw just over 500 billion of net depositor withdrawals, really out of this concern, this contagion that is there another FTX lurking out there? Are these exchanges safe? Are these funds safe? And I do think here, Kevin, that there is a risk that the markets and regulators can overreact. This was a firm-specific, one organization liquidity event brought about by a fraud. This does not implicate the entirety of the crypto industry. It doesn't say that all Bitcoin or Ethereum or all these things are bad. In fact, crypto is no better or worse than any other industry. And if you look back at these massive frauds I just described, Enron, WorldCom, across all sorts of industries, recently, Elizabeth Holmes at Theranos, this is a foible, a folly of human nature. Obviously, it's a terrible thing when people lose money. The risk here is that regulators overreact and they throw out the baby with the bathwater and go overboard in the kinds of restrictions that are needed. The crypto industry's been calling out for a few years now that they need better regulation. They need regulation by legislation, not by enforcement, meaning that they do something and several months later they're told that they shouldn't have done it by the SEC or otherwise, even though there's no laws to date on the books. So there are a lot of lessons to be learned here. One of them, which I note in a later article, was that, if you look at what happens in any revolution of technology, the industrial revolution, even 20 or so years ago with the internet boom, there were a number of frauds. Think about all the companies that went away, internet companies, pets.com and otherwise, that don't exist today. And yet, look at what has come of the internet revolution. None of our lives.
Yeah. No, Michael, I get that argument. In fact, people have, it's like it's become a talking point from the crypto industry. Here's my concern, and I'm just going to be flat out. I don't have a stake in crypto. I'm not really, a stock guy. I'm not a metals guy. I'm kind of neutral, but I try to pay attention to where I think I'm going to get the best return. My problem with crypto is the following, and it is a dilemma, and maybe you can help me understand. It has the best verification system on planet Earth. And yet, this isn't the first crypto scandal that has hit. In fact, this is probably not even the dozenth. I mean, there's been so many of these. How are people gaming the system when the technology it's built on is supposed to be foolproof, literally?
Yeah, because individuals and customers are making bad decisions. They're taking inordinate risks that they shouldn't. So they're leveraging up their crypto, putting debt on debt on debt, using inadequate or bad collateral. They are handing over their private keys to exchanges. So in this case, if you were a Bitcoin investor and you had put your Bitcoin or bought Bitcoin in FTX, you actually didn't own them. You had given them to FTX as a custodian. That's how they do these bad things. Again, you talked about the crypto industry. Another phrase is not your keys, not your crypto. If you don't have control and ownership, if you don't have control of your keys, then you don't have ownership. So I think there are two things. One, greed, in that they're putting leverage on to try to get higher and higher returns. And they're not following some of the basic principles of crypto articulated, which is the ability to keep your keys, keep your value autonomous, keep it out of other people's hands so that this sort of thing doesn't happen.
Well, that's not new. I mean, if I buy a stack of gold, I don't want to hand it over to somebody else. I want that going in my safe. I mean, the ideas here are not difficult. And so greed on greed, that makes sense to me. I can understand how people get looped into thinking, I can do better here than I probably should be doing, and cut corners. It's the cutting of the corners someone takes advantage of, and then they mess it up for everybody else.